So today we're going to talk about Icebox, and I'm very quickly just going to talk about some of the overarching problems that I think Icebox still has after the changes. I don't think Riot's fixed as much as perhaps they might have hoped to, but then we're going to go into some pro games and sort of show some of the problems with Icebox that are still persisting. So, what are the problems with Icebox? Well, the changes that they made, I did like the changes on the whole. It is an improvement. Icebox is better than it was before, but it still isn't fixed. And the key problem that I still have with Icebox is the map plays out pretty much the same way every single game. Where teams will group up as a 5 and they will go A, or teams will group up as a 5 and they will go B. And G2 took this to the extreme with their comp, and the way that they play Icebox attack is they literally only do that. They never send anyone mid, not even one like lurker person. No, they're going 5A or they're going 5B, and that's their strategy, and that's all they're gonna do. And they found success with it because that is just the most successful way to play Icebox. And I think that the changes that the devs made were to try and, get away from that a bit. They didn't want to see, Sage Wall here, plant as close as you can, and then just play post plant. That's what the changes on B site I think were meant to do. But it hasn't really worked because instead teams are now just planting in this corner here and pretty much doing the exact same thing. Where they aren't taking any of the site at all. They're just, planting, getting the spike down, and then running away, playing in B main, etc. And then on A site, it's just 5, go A. It's very hard to defend this site in general, and that is still the case there. And no one, barely anyone, ever touches this side of the map. You don't really ever see, too many like B splits coming in like this, or you literally never see anyone go for like an A split like this. That would be absolutely ludicrous. Why would you ever do that? And if you're wondering why that is, it's because all of this space in the middle of the map is so tight and so congested that as soon as you're there as an attacker, you're kind of stuck, and a lot of defensive utility, be it mollies or whatever, will catch you in this area. This is a narrow choke point. Going under here is a narrow choke point that leads into, many different angles that defenders can be in that aren't very fun to try and attack into. Going down this way is suicidal because they could be up here, but they could also be around this corner, and they can swing you and have a good idea of where you're going, but you have to be constantly worried about two completely different angles. Going up tube is an absolute death trap because once you're up there, it's very difficult to then get out, and it's a narrow thin wall that can be wall banged the whole time. And then even though they did widen kitchen a bit, if you are going to make a play towards this B site, you're going to have to come down this extremely narrow corridor here, which is again another death trap, and it just doesn't work. Going mid in Icebox just doesn't work, and it never has done, and that is still annoying to me. So this is the match that we are going to take a look at. It's Crazy Raccoon versus Zeta Division, the Japanese VCT Grand Final for qualifying for Iceland that Zeta Division are going to win. And we're going to just take a look at the couple rounds. Now, initially I was just watching this to get a good idea of how good Zeta Division actually are, but let's take a look because I feel like this is very instructive. And this is actually going to be a round that was won on the attacking side after going mid. So let's take a look at all the things that have to happen for that to be the case. So they're going to send 3 players, as you can see, up towards mid here, and they're going to send them up towards tube. And so let's watch them on their journey, shall we? Because they're going to walk up tube, and then quite a few things are going to have to happen exactly at the right time for them to be able to win this round. So they catch off Neth there in like the worst time at all. He's got his nano swarm out, he's throwing it down, he doesn't expect anyone to be that close already, so he's not expecting it. He still is able to get 1, and then the nade is able to get 2. So even though they caught like basically the perfect timing for them, they still, got 2 for 1. Then 10 has to hit that insanely good shot there on Munchkin to get that kill, and that luckily for him gets him a res. And luckily for them as well, they just so happen to res the Viper, who after dying and now being resed has the Viper ult as well, and that allows them to actually do this absurdly good Viper ult. And this is one of like the 2 strategies that people try going mid. Is basically to get Viper and Kitchen with the Viper ult, get this Viper ult down that goes like that because it's quite difficult to deal with. And luckily for them, the Viper didn't have their ult before, but they do now because they just died. So they got the one extra orb that they needed to actually manage to ult, and they are gonna ult. And this is what it takes to win a round by going mid. You have to catch a good timing, then you have to hit an absurd shot, then you have to have, you know, two of the strongest ultimates in the game at the same time in the same round, and then you can win a round by going mid. So congratulations, you know, you just need to put a ton into a specific round to have a decent chance at actually winning it. And even then, it doesn't go great for them. It's not like a flawless victory by any means, because going mid is chaotic on this map. It's completely chaotic. And in fact, as we run this forward, I'm pretty sure the Sova here just starts spamming randomly here. And like, even this, you know, look at this. Just that spam gets a kill as well, you know, and they get a bit lucky there that, you know, the Viper didn't get spammed, because had the Viper been the one getting spammed, you could see here Crow is down to 15 health as well from that spam. They got super lucky, basically, in winning this round by going mid, and this is the kind of level that it takes to actually win a round. And now let's come to round number 8, and let's watch what's going to happen here then. So Zeta, again, are going to go towards mid. You saw that Munchkin just sees a barrel there, and now you might think that this is a lucky shot, but let's be real, he just saw a barrel stick out here, so in reality, they're only going to be exactly where they are, and so he fires a pop shot in there and manages to get a kill. And so that was the first little part of it. And then as we run this forward, the Viper is going to try and aggress a little bit, fires a couple shots, they know where they are, and now this Viper has to worry about a ton of different angles, tries to swing out around here, but Estelle is there to mop that up as well. Then this Jet, who's about to come up into Tube, gets very lucky that Munchkin decides not to hold that angle anymore, because that would have been probably a free kill as well. And this is what I mean, it's just a death trap. And then 10 here holding this tight angle. Papagachi manages to find that kill, and now the problem is, like, they have a good idea of where they are, and there's just no way to get out. You know, there is no way. Where does this Jet go now? You tell me, where is this Jet gonna be able to go to get out of this situation? They can't. He actually gets a kill, which is quite good, but then the shock dart kills them. This is what mid is like in this map. That it's not going to go well for you. Then you get droned, you get tagged, and guess what? It's not going to go well for you, and I'm going to spoil the Sova isn't able to win this round. Now let's come to round 10, and the situation is this. Zeta have already lost one player, and they're going to send 2 players towards mid. So let's see how it goes for this Viper and Sage in mid, because the answer is honestly not pretty good. So again, as I mentioned before, if you're coming out here, you have to worry very much about this and people up here. That's the bare minimum. There also could be anyone, you know, around in a ton of different angles as well, but those two perhaps are the most common. So they are worried, and this Viper here, what's going to happen is the Viper is going to spot the turret, get spotted by the turret, I should say, get pinged, and then as soon as that happens, Estelle is there to just, you know, straight away kill you, because you can't shoot in 2 places at once. And now this Sage is kind of there on their own, and if we just run this forward, they actually have some success on the A site. But this Sage, you know, they know that this Sage is here, and what's going to happen essentially is this Sage is going to, there's the pings on the map, Sage is going to walk into the alarm bot and die straight away, and that's basically what's going to happen anytime you decide to go mid. But there is maybe one caveat to what I'm saying, and that is pistol rounds, because on pistol rounds it's generally harder to, you know, flick and kill 2 people than it is to spray someone, you know, multiple people down with a rifle. So it's going to be harder, and it's easier to potentially trade with those pistols and find some space in mid in general. So let's take a look at how this round goes for Crazy Raccoon. And it doesn't, I mean, they do end up winning this round, but it still doesn't go great, because again, you know, they're running into that. They end up in a 5v3, but they end up winning the 5v3 basically off the back of this kill here. They get it to a 4v3, and the B site is kind of open, and then they catch some of the Zeta players, you know, looking the wrong way and whatnot. This was almost another situation where the Jet was looking the wrong way, and Mai here is able to get the kill, and of course a Rainer on pistol is practically the only useful time Rainer is in a game, so is able to get a couple kills, but then dies here. But essentially it ended up in a 2v2 anyway again, and so the situation wasn't really that great, and the thing that's going to win them the round really is what we're about to see, which is this very good snakebite into shock dart combo. That's what wins them the round, not the pistol mid-strat, because they very well might have lost the round had you know, one of those been misplaced. Maybe the defuse just comes in and they stick it, and they lose the round. Now let's come to round number 19, and what's happened here for the side of Crazy Raccoon is they've tried to go away, saw there was a Viper's Pit, thought, let's not. and decided to come back to mid. And let's take a look at how that's going to go for them, because they're going to go down mid. And this is what I mean about once you kind of commit to mid, the big problem is there isn't really a way out. You're kind of stuck there and you have to fight it, which is never a good situation to find yourself in, particularly when there's so many angles the defenders can come from, because exactly, look, they are stuck there now. There is literally nowhere. Where else can these go? They can't run back because the Sage will just kill them. So they have to try and run forward, but the Sage wall is there, and all of the Zeta players are here ready to kill them. They're just in a terrible, terrible situation. And so basically what's going to happen is they're just going to get stuck. You know, they're going to die to the operator here, a couple of them. And these players, they can't go anywhere. They are stuck. They are completely stuck there. I mean, where do you want them to try and go? Look, there is nowhere for them to go. It's just a terrible situation to be in. And, you know, this part of the map is just, I mean, it's non-existent because, I mean, this is a good example of why you should never go there, because look at all the angles that this Sova has to worry about. Look at how many different things that Sova is worrying about in the last seconds of his life. And he had no escape route either. It's just an absolute nightmare for attackers. And really, Riot, you know, some of your changes, I like them. But the mid side of the map really, really, really needs some looking at.